When the Urati Concorde entered Earth orbit, they didn't ask for permission. Their scans had already told them everything they thought they needed to know. Primitive species, pre-quantum civilization, heavy reliance on emotion-based decision-making, dangerous but disorganized. They classified humans under biological curiosities, an internal term reserved for unstable yet non-threatening creatures. The Urati were not conquerors. They considered themselves enlightened, peaceful explorers. Their protocol was simple: observe, assess, uplift if safe. And Earth, with its messy geopolitics and patchwork progress, seemed ripe for silent observation. So they seeded atmospheric drones, cloaked in wavelengths human technology couldn't yet detect. The drones dispersed harmless-looking nanoprobes, targeting urban centers, water supplies, air currents. Each was tasked with collecting neural patterns, behavioral data, chemical responses to stimuli. The Concorde called it passive research. Humans called it trespassing. Within 48 hours, Earth's military satellites had pinged unusual readings. By the third day, those readings had names, trajectory vectors, pulse patterns, heat signatures that matched no known origin. A joint task force formed under the code name Rook. Analysts, code breakers, bioengineers, and one very quiet department that didn't officially exist. They intercepted the signals, broke the low-level encryption, and realized what was happening. They didn't panic. They smiled. Director Han was the first to speak in the classified meeting. They're using us to test their biotech. They think we're cattle with toolboxes. Her voice was calm. Let them. We'll test right back. Under her command, the Rook Initiative flipped the game. Every major human city swapped its water purification protocols. Nanofilters were upgraded overnight, not just to block the probes, but to rewrite their purpose. Now, each Urati nanoprobe returned data laced with synthetic anomalies, non-existent chemical markers, impossible neural reactions, invented diseases. The aliens would receive their data, but it would be fiction, convincing, precise fiction. Meanwhile, select urban zones were cordoned off for routine infrastructure tests. In reality, they became control labs. Volunteer citizens, mostly from military and intelligence sectors, acted out daily lives under watch. Their vitals were tracked in real time. Every cough, blink, emotional spike, collected, analyzed, and fed back into the system that monitored Urati interest points. The aliens noticed none of it. Their scientists marveled at the apparent, unpredictable synaptic leaps in humans, not realizing half the behavior was scripted. Some probes were allowed to function as intended. Those were tagged and followed. In one case, a Urati drone deployed a device designed to emit a subharmonic meant to suppress aggressive behavior. Project Rook quietly let it run for 1 hour. Then the signal was hijacked. Frequency inverted. It now heightened tension. Result: 3 staged brawls of fake riot and 1 conveniently timed ceasefire, all caught on alien sensors. The Urati wrote a full paper on the chaotic neutrality of human conflict instincts. They never saw the hand behind it. Every alien test was now a mirror, reflecting false truths. Every result they believed they had discovered was either planted or manipulated. The Urati were still writing research reports, still drawing conclusions, still convinced of their superiority. And Earth was already 6 steps ahead. The Urati launched Phase 2 with full confidence. Their field analysts believed they had mapped human neural rhythms well enough to begin localized trials. Subdermal bioinjectors, cloaked in molecular-scale camouflage, were released in targeted urban areas. The goal: test emotional dampeners, agents that would reduce fear, aggression, and unpredictability. They deployed it into the water systems of what they believed were high-stress zones. Those zones had been selected by Earth weeks ago. The agents reached the public, but not the public the Urati expected. Every individual in those zones was a trained subject: military, psychological specialists, undercover intelligence. Project Rook had seeded the regions with precision. The bioinjectors were intercepted, broken down, analyzed, and replaced with modified variants. Now, the compound didn't reduce aggression. It triggered it subtly in those with elevated dopamine. And yet, The behavior stayed just within normal variance. Nothing suspicious. Nothing to alarm the observers. The Urati logged the data with satisfaction. Meanwhile, Rook's science lead, Dr. Emil Sharp, was deep in simulation models. His lab had already replicated the alien signal harmonics. His AI systems were now feeding false response curves directly into the alien feedback loop. When the Urati drone pinged for a status update, Earth's spoofed data stream responded exactly as expected, just slightly flawed. Just flawed enough to lead the aliens further into misinterpretation. "We're writing their conclusions to them," Sharp muttered to Han in a secure briefing. "And they're thanking us for the ink." At orbital distance, the Urati continued deploying observational drones. But something had shifted. Earth's electromagnetic profile wasn't what they remembered. Communications blackouts occurred in irregular pulses, and high-frequency bursts carried packets they couldn't decode. That was deliberate. Earth Stealth Vessel Watcher 1, outfitted with a mimic array derived from Urati tech, was orbiting in their blind spot. It wasn't just intercepting alien signals. It was mimicking them, feeding garbage into Urati diagnostics, hijacking protocol IDs, masking its presence behind synthetic echoes. On the ground, Project Rook escalated. They constructed a false conflict, a fabricated civil unrest scenario in Sector 11. News reports, social media, crisis footage, all scripted. Human behaviors worked side by side with AI modelers to ensure the simulation looked chaotic but authentic. They leaked it into the same bandwidth the Urati had been using to track social stress indicators. The aliens devoured it. Every metric confirmed their hypothesis that humanity was reactive, irrational, too volatile for uplift. They concluded their neurological inhibitors were having mixed success. They requested permission from the Concord High Council to begin next phase trials. The request never reached them. Watcher 1 intercepted the signal, rerouted it, and replaced it with a simple approval message. The Urati took the green light and pushed forward. Earth smiled. They weren't just observing the observers anymore. They were rewriting the test, restructuring parameters, reprogramming the examiners. The hunter still believed it stalked prey, but the prey had learned how to set the trap. The Urati deployed their upgraded pacification satellites over 3 densely populated cities. The satellites beamed focused neurological pulses, intended to reduce violent impulses and promote submission. The Concord called it harmonic peace enforcement. Earth called it trespass with a smile. Within minutes of activation, the cities showed results, too good to be real. Conflict dropped to 0. Crowds moved calmly. Emergency response times plummeted. The Urati documented the outcomes enthusiastically. They didn't realize they were watching actors. The zones were never real civilian regions. Every building had been cleared. Every civilian was part of Project Rook's expanded simulation. Soldiers in civilian clothes. Police units following a pre-written script. Media broadcast timed to alien surveillance sweeps. Even the facial expressions were coached for specific emotional tones to align with Urati sensors. When the aliens adjusted the signal strength, Earth responded perfectly, down to the decimal. Dr. Emil Sharp monitored the internal signal feed. "They're dialing up intensity," he said, watching the live pulse readout. "Time to break the illusion." Director Han gave the order. Earth's own satellites, fitted with hijacked Urati tech, bounced back a counter frequency. It flipped the signal. Now, instead of inducing calm, it triggered agitation, but selectively. Not full riots. Not chaos. Just enough stress to confuse the data. Fights erupted in simulated marketplaces. Protests appeared to turn unpredictable. One orchestrated explosion, non-lethal but loud, went off during an alien observation window. The Urati flagged it immediately. Their scientists became alarmed. Their predictive models collapsed. How could peaceful frequencies trigger this? A senior Concord data technician sent a query up the chain. Request review. Signal response shows contradictory behavior. Subject exhibit both sedation and unrest. Possible cognitive instability. Watcher 1 intercepted that too. Response sent. Instability expected. Continue experiment. Observe deeper reaction cycles. The Urati obeyed, but their confidence cracked. Their command ship lowered orbit for closer scans. That's when it heard the transmission. A calm human voice, modulated and clear, cut across every encrypted channel. "We've seen your tests. Your methods. You call it peaceful. You call it ethical. We call it invasive. But thank you. We've learned more than you can imagine." The bridge of the Urati vessel fell into stunned silence. Ambassador Tavon, the senior envoy aboard, leaned forward. "Is this real-time contact?" A second voice answered, amused. "It's been real-time since day one. No human face. No image. Just signal. Pure and confident." Tavon tried to reply. His console blinked red. No outbound signal reached Earth. Watcher 1 had locked every Concord frequency. Back on the surface, the false cities vanished from view. Power grids dropped. Communication feeds cut. A digital blackout. All satellites above Earth went dark for 13 seconds. When they came back online, the Urati found a single message broadcast across every system, written in perfect Concord glyphs. "Control is not understanding. You tested us. We responded. All results logged. Further attempts are unnecessary." Earth had taken the test and rewritten the grading system. The Concord panicked. The High Council convened emergency sessions. Earth was no longer classified as a developing species. It was reclassified as a strategic threat vector. The phrase spread like wildfire through internal networks. No official declaration, just a quiet change in access codes and observation parameters. Urati scientists tried to audit their own data, but most of it was corrupted or worse, overwritten by human simulations. Every report they'd filed, every scan they'd trusted, had been built on manipulated input. Neural patterns they thought were universal were in fact customized for their devices. Chemical reactions they found unique were synthetic inserts. They hadn't studied humanity. They'd studied themselves. Through a human mirror, Dr. Emil Sharp presented the findings to the Rook Committee. "Our estimates confirm it. They've pulled back all active probes. Their AI systems are flagging Earth as cognitively unstable territory." Han nodded, not smiling. Unstable is good. Keeps them cautious. Fearful, even better. Within days, entire Concord fleets rerouted away from Seoul. Research stations vanished from Earth's periphery. Official channels went silent. Unofficial ones lit up. Rogue scientists from Urati and allied species began reaching out to Earth through backdoor quantum relays. Some offered data. Others asked for asylum. All of them wanted the same thing, a chance to study the species that had turned passive observation into full-spectrum inversion. Earth granted limited access to those willing to sign experimental waivers. The Rook Initiative shifted into its next phase. No longer defensive, now developmental. Alien tech was integrated into Earth systems, but only under human terms. Every new visitor, every eager researcher from the stars, was briefed on a single doctrine: consent, control, containment. Ambassador Tavon, disgraced in the Concord, sent one final private message to his Earth counterpart. His tone was solemn. "Why? Why deceive us? Why not speak openly?" The reply came instantly from Han herself. "Because you never asked. You assumed we were the experiment. We made you the variable instead." Tavon stared at the message for a long time. His assistant, younger and still naive, whispered, "What kind of species does that?" He didn't answer for a while. Then he said, "One that doesn't wait for permission." On Earth, the files from Project Rook were sealed. Its existence would remain classified. Publicly, nothing had changed. Earth was still a blue planet on the edge of known space. Still too young, too chaotic. But in hidden labs, under frozen bunkers and deep ocean research domes, the real work accelerated. Humanity had cracked the outer shell of galactic arrogance. And they weren't done. The Urati left Earth alone, but they never stopped watching. And in return, Earth kept watching them back, quietly, precisely, relentlessly. The test was over. The results were in. Humanity was no longer subject. It was a control group no one could predict.